So let's stop investigating Cookie Monster and start investigating how the Trump administration lied about this and was trying to funnel money to their biggest political supporter. Maybe you're trying to defund NPR because they expose this kind of corruption.
But over time, and I still occasionally listen to NPR because I just want to hear what they have to say, and I don't even recognize the station anymore. It's not news. I feel like it's propaganda.
Public broadcasting appears before a House subcommittee. We'll have views from both sides. Trump's executive order stopping collective bargaining affects the FCC. And the Media Bureau pulls the plug on an AM that's more than 10 years delinquent on reg fees. All that and more coming up.
REC, FCC Today, Michi Break.
Bringing the Daily Digest to life, this is FCC Today, the podcast for March 31, 2025. Less than 1 week from the NAB show in Las Vegas. Are you going? On Wednesday, the House DOJ subcommittee, chaired by Marjorie Taylor Greene, Republican from Georgia, held a hearing titled Anti-American Airwaves, Holding the Heads of NPR and PBS Accountable. This is part of a Trump administration effort to defund the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. In the press release announcing the hearing, Greene stated in part, quote, "I want to hear why NPR and PBS think they should ever again receive a single cent from the American taxpayer." She then states that pubcasters have, quote, dropped the ball on Hunter Biden's laptop and downplayed the origins of COVID-19. Catherine Maher and Paula Kerger, CEOs of NPR and PBS, respectively, appeared on behalf of public broadcasting, along with Ed Ullman, head of Alaska Public Media. Michael Gonzalez from the Heritage Foundation also appeared. We will start with remarks from Gregorio Casar, Democrat from Texas.
The total funding for public broadcasting is just 1/6 the amount that Elon Musk's companies make off of the government every single year. But you will not see Elon Musk being grilled by this committee. I've seen a lot, but pointing the finger at Elmo to cover for Elon Musk might be a new low for Miss Marjorie Taylor Greene's committee. I don't think Americans are buying it.
The Corporation for Public Broadcasting was created as a result of the passage of the Public Broadcasting Act of 1967. As part of a question to Michael Gonzalez at Heritage, Michael Cloud, Republican from Texas, questions the relevancy of public broadcasting in light of emerging technologies.
Mr. Gonzalez, I wanted to get your take on this about why the corporate public broadcasting, is it still relevant today? I mean, we're in a different context than we were in the 60s, where maybe not every home had a television. Now many of them have multiple televisions, and certainly most have a screen in their pocket most times during the day. I have 3 here on my desk. And so it seems like we're in a different context. Like, where could we possibly get the news today or information?
Robert Garcia, Democrat from California.
At a time where we can't agree on basic facts, and while the free press is under attack, we need public media like PBS and NPR more than ever. A large majority of Americans say they trust PBS. And that's exactly why extremists are trying to tear it down. Public broadcasting is a tool for education, for emergencies, and a cherished part of our national fabric.
William Timmons, Republican from Texas, also questions the obsolescence of public broadcasting.
If our debt is part of the reason we're here, I think another part of the reason we're here, reevaluating your role in the government's use of taxpayer dollars to partially fund your institutions, is because technology has changed everything. We are not living in 1967. The internet has changed our society. We have such increased social interconnectedness, and there are various options for people to get news and to get disinformation or information, whatever you want to get.
Jasmine Crockett, Democrat from New York, rips into recent commission investigations and Project 2025.
The American people should be worried about the president threatening to investigate NBC for treason for reporting on his felony convictions, or arresting reporters competitors and stripping networks of their licenses for not saying nice things about him or not using Gulf of America. The Republicans' witness, Mr. Gonzalez, went so far as to suggest that because NPR and PBS reported on the murder of George Floyd, they, quote, represent a danger to our physical health as well as to civic health of our body politics.
Finally, James Comer, Republican from Tennessee, provides examples of NPR news coverage that he was not too happy about.
People in Alaska, if all they have is public radio, then all they know is what these headlines say. And they're wrong about COVID-19. And the headlines are in the background. I don't have time to go over all these headlines that are wrong. About Russian collusion, wrong. About the Hunter Biden laptop, wrong.
In the continuing resolution that was passed by Congress and signed by the president in March, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting received a $535 million appropriation for fiscal year 2027, upholding the 2-year advanced appropriation for public media. REC attempted to provide each political party with a similar amount of time in this report. Just a reminder, if you're watching this on the Michelle Bradley YouTube channel, please like this video and please subscribe to the channel. We would appreciate it. We are less than a week from the NAB show in Las Vegas. I'm hoping to provide some highlights of what I saw at NAB. While we may not have video from the show floor, I hope we can get some interviews and some other chats in. If you would like to talk to me at NAB for the podcast, please let me know. Send me your information. And if you are an exhibitor, your booth number to LPFM at RECNET.com. That's LPFM at RECNET.com. Stay tuned to REC Network's Facebook page and the Michelle Bradley YouTube channel for potential additional content and updates. I will be mainly in the West Hall where most of radio is. My home base will be at our friends at AIR, located at booth W1342. If I'm not doing much else, I will be in the vicinity of that booth. Please remember to visit AIR and check out the new version 6 of Playout One Pro. I have not seen it yet myself, so it'll be a surprise to me. As a Playout One Pro version 5 user, I look forward to seeing the exciting upgrades in version 6. This podcast is not sponsored by AIR. They're just great people with a great product. On Thursday, the White House issued an executive order entitled Exclusion from Federal Labor Management Relations Programs, Exclusions. According to a memorandum from the Office of Personnel Management, the letter invoked the president's authority under 5 U.S.C. Section 7103B1 and 22 U.S.C. Section 4103B to exempt agencies and agency subdivisions from provisions of the Federal Service Labor Management Relations Statute and the Foreign Service Labor Management Relations Statute. The executive order discontinues collective bargaining in agencies that are involved in national security. The Federal Communications Commission is one of those agencies. As part of this order, OPM instructs agencies to no longer use the appropriate collective bargaining agreement where it comes to performance evaluations, telework, and reduction in force guidelines. The OPM memo also discontinues agency participation in the grievance process and the deduction of union dues from employee paychecks. Many FCC employees are represented by the National Treasury Employees Union. In a statement, NTEU National President Doreen Greenwald states that the union plans to fight this in court, saying, quote, federal employees whose oath is the Constitution have called out the actions of the administration to dismantle the federal government and have fought to protect their agency's missions to ensure that services continue to be delivered on behalf of the American people. These brave employees have withstood the illegal firing of highly skilled colleagues and faced actions designed to eliminate thousands more federal employees and shut down local offices and entire agencies, all of which would decimate local community services and the economy. Greenwald continues, we cannot stand by and allow the voices of dedicated civil servants to be silenced. As Americans scream for their elected representatives to take action to check the power of the executive branch, NTEU will continue our fight to stop these illegal actions so that the federal workforce can continue to protect and preserve our nation for we the people, end quote. After a mysterious delay, the notice of proposed rulemaking in MB docket 24-626 has finally been published in the Federal Register. This docket is a mixed bag of various changes proposed by the Media Bureau to Parts 1, 73, 74, and 76. Changes include various LPFM tweaks, including a clarification to 73.807 on what is considered an authorized station in respect to providing protections, and harmonizing the LPFM minor modification rules 73.870 with the same rules as full service and FM translators for simultaneously filed applications. The NPRM also proposes to eliminate a requirement that if an AM station wants to increase power, they must request a minimum of a 20% increase. The NPRM also proposes to change the signature rule, which will allow anyone to sign an application, even if they're not an officer or a board member, as long as an officer or a board member consents to it. The NPRM also extends 90-day STAs due to technical issues to 180 days, removes rules related specifically to the 2021 NCE filing window and the TV incentive auction, as well as other conforming edits and updates to reflect the conversion of radio from the CDBS filing system to LMS. Comments in MB docket 24-626 are due on April 23, 2025, with reply comments due May 8, 2025. On Thursday, the FCC held their March open meeting. Chairman Carr, along with Commissioners Gomez and Symington, were present, and Commissioner Starks appeared by video conference. There were 3 items on the agenda. The Commission considered a notice of inquiry in WT docket 25-110 to look at alternatives to global positioning satellites for positioning, navigation, and timing. Melissa Conway, attorney advisor in the Wireless Telecommunications Bureau, has more details.
The notice before you today opens an inquiry into technologies that could complement or back up GPS. We rely significantly on GPS for a range of purposes, from national security and public safety to economic stability. But GPS is vulnerable to disruption. Because of this, we need to support the development of alternative systems that provide positioning, navigation, and timing, or PNT data. The notice recognizes the considerable work done by government and the private sector and supports a whole of government approach to this challenge. The notice asks about both space-based and terrestrial solutions for PNT resiliency, including satellite systems and the potential to leverage TV broadcast infrastructure, ground-based transmitters, and user equipment positioning. It also seeks comment on the relative pros and cons of different solutions by considering factors like coverage area, available equipment, spectrum resources that would be needed, how well the system would perform for different uses, reliability, cost to users, and international considerations. The notice asks questions about how else the FCC could promote PNT complements and alternatives that protect critical operations from disruption. To get the conversation started, the notice seeks input from the public on potential rule changes, partnerships between the public sector and the private sector, or real-world testing environments that the FCC can facilitate.
One of the methods being looked at is BPS, or Broadcast Positioning System, which uses transmissions from next-gen ATSC-3 television stations. We should see more information about this technology next week at NAB. The Commission also considered a further notice of proposed rulemaking in PS dockets 21-479 and 13-75 to safeguard the nation's next-generation 911 transition by ensuring the reliability and interoperability of NG 911 networks. Christopher Fideli, attorney advisor in the Public Safety and Homeland Security Bureau, explains.
Today's further notice proposes measures to ensure the resiliency, reliability, accessibility, and interoperability of next-generation 911 systems, or NG 911. First, the further notice proposes to update the Commission's existing 911 reliability rules. These rules were originally adopted in 2013 and require covered service providers, or CSPs, to take specific measures to ensure their networks provide reliable service to public safety answering points, or PSAPs. The 2013 rules focused on legacy 911 networks because at that time, few states or localities had begun deploying NG 911 systems. The further notice proposes to update and expressly apply the Commission's 911 reliability rules to service providers that control or operate critical pathways and facilities in NG 911 systems. Second, the further notice proposes interoperability rules for the interstate transfer of 911 traffic between emergency services IP networks, or EZNets. EZNets are the state and regional networks that form the backbone of NG 911. The proposal seeks to ensure that EZNets will support PSAP's ability to transfer 911 calls across state borders with minimal need for calls and associated data to be retranslated or reformatted. Promoting interoperability, in turn, improves network resiliency, especially during disasters and major emergencies. Third, the further notice proposes to modify certification and oversight mechanisms in the current 911 reliability rules. The further notice would also take steps to promote transparency and share information about NG 911 networks with state and local authorities so that they are fully equipped to address network reliability and interoperability locally. Finally, today's further notice proposes to eliminate, consolidate, or streamline outdated 911 reliability regulations in order to maximize the effectiveness of the new rules while minimizing regulatory burdens on service providers. Together, these proposals are intended to help ensure that the nation's 911 systems continue to function effectively and reliably, and to improve transparency and accountability during the NG 911 transition, while appropriately balancing the cost and benefits of these regulations.
Finally, the Commission considered a sixth further notice of proposed rulemaking in PS docket 07-114 to strengthen caller location accuracy for wireless calls to 911. Zach DeLeo, attorney advisor also from Homeland, explains.
The sixth further notice of proposed rulemaking proposes several measures to improve the accuracy and actionability of location information transmitted with 911 calls to 911 telecommunicators, dispatchers, and first responders. First, the sixth further notice proposes to require wireless providers to deliver vertical or Z-axis location information to 911 call centers in a format that measures the vertical position of the 911 caller's device based on its height above ground level instead of the height above ellipsoid format that's used to deliver Z-axis information to 911 call centers today. Second, the further notice explores ways to increase the number of wireless 911 calls delivered with dispatchable location information. That is, the caller's street address plus floor level and apartment or room number. The item seeks to refresh the record on the current state of dispatchable location technologies and to ensure that wireless providers are using these technologies to their maximum potential. Third, the item proposes to foster greater transparency and accountability in the industry testbed process that is used to validate the performance of wireless location accuracy technologies. The proposed rules would require that vertical location technologies be tested and evaluated in each of 4 different environments. The The item also proposes to expand access to the testbed data for non-nationwide wireless providers and certain major public safety organizations, and to allow challenges to the validation of particular technologies in the testbed. Fourth, the item seeks comment on improving horizontal location accuracy for wireless 911 calls and on improving location accuracy for text to 911. Finally, the item seeks comment on eliminating certain legacy 911 rules that have been superseded by the current 911 location accuracy rules or otherwise obsolete. Overall, this item would encourage cooperation and collaboration among all parties involved to achieve the ultimate goal of better location accuracy delivered as quickly and reliably as possible with every 911 call.
All three items were unanimously approved, although issues with the video conferencing system led some to question as to Stark's vote on the third item.
Commissioner Starks, if you give us a thumbs up, I think that'll qualify as a vote to approve. Yeah. For the record, I think that counts. I think that's close enough.
At the end of the meeting, during commissioner announcements, there were a lot of announcements for retirements. During the post-meeting press conference, Matt Damon from Communications Daily asked Commissioner Carr whether there has a sizable amount of retirements taking place at the agency. Here's what Chairman Carr had to say.
No, look, I think we've got, a tremendously talented group of public servants here at the FCC. Again, my very first time in this building was not this building. It was the old building back in 2002, 2003 as an intern. This place has a tremendous amount of talent. I think, one, you're seeing natural amount of retirement. I think, we are not concerned at this point about any brain drain. We just still have a lot of talent in the building. I think when we started in January, there were roughly 1,500 people total in the building. And, we're working through all those issues right now. We are, almost fully complete on a return to work initiative. And I think, transitions like this are natural times when people retire. So there's nothing that's concerning or gives me pause. We're still going to be able to deliver results to the American people. And our goal is to do it, even more efficiently than ever before. And I'm confident that we've got, all the right people that we need to deliver. And there's nothing that's going to be slowing us down right now.
Commissioner Gomez also discusses upcoming employee retirements and outlines her plan to remain on the commission.
I want to express my deep gratitude to all of the people that you heard about today taking retirement. I am very concerned about the brain drain that you are seeing in these retirements and that we will be seeing in the upcoming months because of all the actions of this administration. We are losing tremendously talented staff. Yes, we also have very talented staff still with us, but it is going to affect us and our ability to do our jobs, to protect the public interest, to protect consumers, to protect competition, and to ensure new and innovative services get to market for the benefit of our country. All right, finally, there's been much speculation as to my future here at the Commission. A bipartisan majority of Congress intended for me to serve the remainder of my term, and I plan to do just that. We've seen alarming attempts to remove congressionally appointed members of independent commissions. To me, that's a reflection of this administration's policy of control and censorship. And it also shows a great amount of fear. Silencing dissenting voices by our government is a sign of weakness, not a show of strength. So I will continue to stand firm in my beliefs and speak up in defense of the First Amendment and on behalf of consumers.
The April open meeting is scheduled for April 28 on a Monday, which is unusual for these meetings. A tentative agenda and circulation items should be available on April 7.
Michi at NAB.
REC Networks has updated our self-inspection checklist for LPFM stations. The REC checklist has been around for nearly 10 years, identifying a need for such a document that had not been updated by the FCC since 2007. Our intended audience for this checklist is anyone who is responsible for the operation of an LPFM station and includes many technical and administrative subjects. There is also a printable checkoff sheet that you can use. You You can keep that checkoff sheet in your station records. You do not submit that to the FCC. At the NAB show, the NAB and the Society of Broadcast Engineers will be formally introducing their new self-inspection guide for LPFM stations. The guide is only available to NAB and SBE members through the password-protected portion of their respective websites. REC Networks did collaborate on this publication. REC notes that this guide was written to assist those that perform the alternate broadcast inspection program, which is available from your state broadcasters association, and therefore does not touch on many of the administrative issues that are addressed in the REC publication. To obtain the REC publication at no charge, please visit recnet.com/checklist. That's recnet.com/checklist. If you're going to be at NAB, please come to the West Hall, booth W2631 on Tuesday at 2:45 p.m. for the announcement. And finally, on Friday, the Media Bureau and the Office of Managing Director have adopted a revocation order against Unidos para Cristo Incorporated, licensee of KIJN AM, Farwell, Texas. According to the order, Unidos had failed to timely pay or only partially paid the station's regulatory fees for every fiscal year from 2013 through 2024. On December 19, 2024, the Media Bureau and OMD jointly issued an order to pay or show cause, requiring Unidos to file with the Bureau within 60 days evidence of full payment, or to show cause why the fees are inapplicable or should be otherwise waived or deferred. To date, Unidos had not paid the debts, nor have they filed any written response. KIJN was a Class D AM station that operated on 1060 with 10 kilowatts, 2-tower directional, daytime only. This facility was first licensed in 1958 as KZOL, licensed to Blackwater Valley Broadcasters.
Michi
Oh my, this was a long episode. FCC Today, the podcast, can be heard through Podbean, iHeart, Apple, Odyssey, and many other places where you get podcasts. It's also available on the Michelle Bradley YouTube channel. If you're watching there, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you have comments about this show or anything that's on your mind, please call our input line at 202-963-0852. We might just play your comments on a future podcast. For assistance with FM, LPFM, and FM translators, contact REC Networks at 202-621-2355. We hope to see you at NAB, coming up here in less than a week in Las Vegas. My home base this year will be at AIR in the West Hall at booth W1342. In the meantime, check them out at AIIR.com. This has been a presentation of REC Networks, a leading advocate for a diverse dial. I'm Michelle Bradley, SBE Certified Broadcast Technologist. Thanks for listening.